friends and welcome to Obsidian Soft. As Christmas is close, I thought that I should teach you a festive game in which we have a sack and we have to catch gifts falling from the sky. We also have to avoid the coals. As you can see in the demo that the game is perfect for the festive season. You move the sack by tilting your device. So let's begin. Open up MIT App Inventor and go to Projects. Start a new project. Let's call it Gift Catcher Game. Keep the toolkit default. This is important. I will upload some media here. The media includes a background, a coal image, a fail sound, a gift image, an optional background music, a sack, and a success sound effect. So I'm just going to select it all and drag it, bring it here until this dashed box shows, and all will be uploaded at the same time. Don't use huge images. I have edited the coal and the gift image to be not more than 50 pixels in height and width, and the sack is about double the size, that is around 100 pixels in height and width. Okay? In Screen 1's properties, make Screen Orientation Portrait, and I'm going to turn off the status bar. Change the title to Santa Gift Catcher, exclamation mark. From drawing and animation, drag and drop a canvas onto the viewer. Okay, and for its background image, choose the background image that we had uploaded in media. And in its height, make it 80% and the width is fill parent. And I'm also going to change the font size to 35. We will be drawing some text on this canvas too to show the score. From drawing and animation again, drag and drop an image sprite onto the viewer. Rename it to sack Sprite and change its picture to the sack image. Again, drag and drop another image sprite, rename it to gift 1 and change the picture to the gift image, and I'm also going to change its heading, that is direction in which it moves, to 270, so it will move down. And this is very important that you turn off rotates. Okay, the speed will stay 0 because we will be updating it in the code in the block section. Select it and duplicate it by pressing Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V on the keyboard for Windows or Command+C, Command+V for Mac OS. I'm going to reposition it and again duplicate it. And this time I'm going to rename it to coal. Okay, and I'm going to change the image to now coal. Okay, so you can add as many gifts and coals as you want. From the layout palette, drag and drop a horizontal arrangement onto the viewer. Make it align horizontal, align vertical, both center. The height is 15% and the width is fill parent. From user interface, drag and drop a label. I'm going to rename it to score label and make the font bold, font size 20. Change the text to gifts :0. Okay, and again drag and drop a button on the right of this label. Let's rename it to restart button, and I'm going to make the background color red. Again, font size 20, font bold, shape is rounded, and the text on it says restart and I'm also going to change the text color to white. Okay, now we need some sensors. So let me turn off this user interface first and the layout too. So from sensors, I need an accelerometer sensor. I'm not going to change its properties, and I need a clock. And for the clock, I'm going to turn off timer always fires and timer enabled, and I'm going to make the timer interval 30,000. So this timer interval is in milliseconds. I want the game to run for 30 seconds and then show you the score, okay? And then you can restart the game. So this is 30,000 means 30 seconds. So if you want it to run for 1 minute, then you have to make it 60,000, okay? Now, from media, I need to add a player, and I am going to check in its properties the loop checkbox, and I'm going to turn on display only in foreground, and I'm going to change the source to my background music, okay, this housetop.mp3 file. Okay, and I'm going to reduce the volume a bit so that I am able to hear the sound effects. So the volume is 20. Next, I'm going to add a sound component again from media, and I'm going to rename it to success sound. Okay, and I'm going to change its source to the success mp3 file, and again I can duplicate it, Control C, Control V, rename fail sound, and change the source to fail.mp3. So our screen design is done. So let's go to the block section. I need a global variable for my score. And when the screen is initialized, that is the game is started, I want to put the sack at the bottom of the screen in the middle, okay? So for that, I'm going to set my sack sprites X to the middle of the canvas, which I can do by doing some calculation. Canvas width divided by 2. So this will be making it exactly in the middle of the canvas. Okay, right click, duplicate, and this is now Y, and I'm not going to do that many calculations here, so I'm just going to make it 500. Okay, our sack moves right when the phone is tilted right and vice versa. For this, we will be using the accelerometer sensor and its acceleration changed events. So get that by clicking on accelerometer sensor. And in this changed event, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to check if my X acceleration is greater than 0.8. In this case, we will be moving left by 10 pixels. However, we will also check if the new move, let me go back to the designer, the new move do not take me out of the canvas. So in case it's taking me out of the canvas, I will set it to 0. And in the other case, I'm going to check against canvas.width, and if it is taking me out of the canvas, the tilt and the move is taking me out of the canvas, I will make the sax X then equal to canvas.width. Okay. I'm going to use the control if then else block, and I'm going to click on this cog wheel and remove the else from here and replace it by an else if. Okay, so these are both conditions in which I'm going to first check using a math equal to block, and here it is greater than math 0.8, And what is greater than 0.8? The x acceleration. So if acceleration is greater than 0.8, we will be moving left. But before moving left, we are going to check if the new move will take us out of the canvas bounds. So for that, I need another if then else block, and I plug it inside this if, and I'm going to check if my sac sprites x, if I reduce a 10 from it, will it be less than 0 or not? So again, an equal to block, and I check against 0, and I need a minus because I have to reduce it by 10, that is subtract a 10 from it. Okay. So sacsprite.x minus 10, if it is less than 0, I am going to set my sacsprite.x to 0. Okay, so this is taking me out of the bounds, so I should just set it to extreme left. Okay, in the other case, if it is not taking me out of the bounds, it is not less than 0, then I am going to set it to the result of my calculation. Okay, again I need to check if my acceleration is now less than minus 0.8. So if you tilt your phone in the other direction, I'm going to make the sac move now right. Again, I need to do some checking, that is, we don't go outside the canvas bounds. So what is the check now? The check is for adding, so I need a plus block from here. I can duplicate this entire block and then update it accordingly. Okay, so if acceleration is less than minus 0.8, make sure that this is minus 0.8. I'm going to check if on adding a 10, that is 10 pixels to my X position, will I go out of canvas.width? So I can duplicate it from here. So if I'm going out of the canvas, then I'm going to set my sacsprite.x to canvas.width. Okay, so just stay within the canvas on the extreme right side. In the other case, the move is not taking me out of the canvas, so I'm just going to do the move normally, that is add a 10 to the current X position of sacsprite. Okay, now let's make a procedure for our gift and coal sprites. This will give a random X position on the canvas to a sprite and Y is equal to 0, that is top of the canvas position, to all our falling sprites, and make their speed random between 3 and 6 and also make them visible. So let me get a procedure and I'm going to make it give ran position for short. Okay, and here it needs an input. So if I click on the cogwheel and drag an input here, and I'm going to rename it to falling sprite. So I know that I'm talking about those things that are falling from the sky, and I'm again using this any component block so that I'm able to update my image sprites without actually using the actual sprites, but by using abstraction, I'm just going to provide the falling sprite as input and all the properties can be updated. So if I click on this any image sprite, inside this any component, you have to scroll down to reach that. I have these blocks in which I can set its properties, and I just have to provide the image sprite, the component here. Okay, so this one I need, which I have to set its X. Here the component is the falling sprite. So I will be passing an image sprite to this procedure, and I want it to have a random X position anywhere on the canvas. So the position is between this point and this point, any position. Okay, so how can we do that? We can use a random block from math, and here this is not 1, this is 0, and this is a minus block, and here this is canvas.width, and we have to make sure that our image, that is the gift or the coal, is showing perfectly and completely on the screen. So to accommodate for that, I'm going to subtract the width of that image from it. Okay, so how can we do that? If I go to, again, any component, and again any image, I have its width here, and I provide the falling sprite. Right click, duplicate, change it to now Y, and now this is just a 0. Okay, right click, duplicate, and now I have to make it also visible, and this is not a number block. So go to logic, get true, and right click, duplicate, and now this is the speed. Okay, so speed, I can use this random integer block, and the speed is a number between 3 and 6. So I've made my procedure. Now we will make a reset procedure that will be called not only from the screen initialization event, but also when the restart button is pressed. So go to procedures, click on it, and then this is just a reset game procedure. And in it, what I'm going to do is, let me bring it down. I am going to give a random position. So see this procedure that we made, the random one. So I will be giving a random position to all my falling sprites. So if I go to any component and if I click on any image sprite, I have this every image sprite, and this is actually a list. Okay, this list is maintained by MIT App Inventor. It contains all the image sprites that you have added to your project. So it even includes the sack sprite. So what I'm going to do is, if I go to control and get the for each item in list block and plug that in and provide the list every image sprite, and then if I use a control and get the if block and go to logic and get the equal to block, but make it not equal to. So now I can check if it is not sack sprite, then call this procedure, that is the random procedure on it. Okay, so if I click on sack sprite and scroll down, I can get the actual component. So I check if it is not sack sprite, then I go to procedures and I call my custom procedure that gives a random position and a speed to my sprite, and I pass the component. Okay, next is I'm going to reset my score to 0, and I also need to update my score label accordingly. So set score label dot text to a join of text, and this is gifts colon space, and then if I right click on this get block, put it here, but I'm going to choose score here. So this is important. I'm just saving my time here. So gifts colon space score. And then I'm going to also enable my timer. So that is, the game has been restarted. So I need to enable the timer. So logic true. And I'm also going to make my stack sprite visible, because I will be making it invisible at the end of every clock timer event when the game is over. And I'm also going to clear my canvas, because at the end of every timer event I will be drawing the score on it. And I'm also going to start my player, okay, the music, okay. So this is the reset game. Now it's very important that I go back and I update my screen1.initialize event to now call my reset game procedure. So this will actually start the game, okay. And very important that when my restart button is clicked, I again call reset game, okay. Now what happens when our sprites fall and touch the sack? If they are gifts, we will play the success sound and increase the score, and in the other case we will play the fail sound and decrease the score. So this will all happen in sack sprites collided with event, okay. And here this other is the one with which the sack sprite has collided. So I'm going to check whether it's a gift or not. So how can I do that? I'm going to get this if then else block, and I'm going to click on this cogwheel, remove the else and add an else if, okay. So these are both conditions, and here I'm going to check if my sack is colliding with a gift sprite. So I have two gift sprites, so I need an OR. So from logic, get the OR block, and I'm going to call a procedure of sack sprite. If I click on it, and there's this procedure called sack sprite.colliding with, and I'm going to check if it is colliding with the gift sprite. So if I click on gift 1, I go down, I have this gift 1 here. I right click, duplicate, and then check for gift 2. Now this is important. If you add more gifts, then you have to add more ORs here too. So I just have 2 gifts. So I have checked for them, and if it is a gift, I am going to call my give random position procedure, because I want the gift to as such disappear, and it will seem as if it has been caught by the sack, but actually it will just start falling again from the sky and will just have a new position, okay. So this is get other, so the sprite with which we collided, the sack, and it will be given a random position, and I have to increase the score. So variables set score to variables get score. Oh, I needed a math block, so plus. So sorry, that was my mistake. Plus 1. And I also play the success sound. So if I click on success sound, I have call success sound dot play. And in the other case, I'm going to again check. So if I right click, duplicate, and check if it is goal. In this case, again, I need to give a random position, but here I have to reduce the score. So I can actually duplicate and bring it down, take it out, get the minus block, and reduce the score. And now if I right click, duplicate, and change the sound to now the fail sound, okay? And last but not the least, we have to update the score on our screen. So I can actually right click, duplicate from here, from down there. We had done the join before, so I can bring it here. So this will just update the score, okay? And what happens when our falling sprites reach the bottom edge? Again, we are going to give it a random position. So how do we know that a sprite has reached the bottom? If I click on any image sprite, I have this when any image sprite dot edge reached event. You can see the advantage of using any component, that we do not have to make separate events for gift 1, gift 2 and call. We are handling all of them in the same place by using the any component blocks. So when any image sprite has reached the edge, we are going to check if it is the bottom edge, and we also have to check for another thing. So we have to get from logic an AND block, and from control an if block. So what's the other thing that I'm going to be checking for? I'm going to also check if it is not the sack, because the sack is always at the bottom. So I don't want the edge reached code to be triggered for the sack. So first of all, I'm going to check if it's the bottom edge. And the bottom edge has the value of -1. So I'm going to check if it is the bottom edge and the component is not the sack sprite. So sorry, I need another equal to block from here, and I'm going to make it not equal to, and again get the component is not equal to sack sprite. Scroll down again, you can get the component. So if it is not the sack sprite and it's the bottom edge, I'm just going to give a random position. So I can right click, duplicate that procedure and change this to component. So the component is the one that has actually reached the edge, that image sprite that has reached the edge. So I'm just going to give it a new position, okay? Last but not the least, our game over condition. That is when the timer fires for our 30 seconds clock sensor. So go to clock and get its timer event. And here, what am I going to do? I'm going to first of all disable the timer, because I don't want it to be running now. So disable it, logic, false. And now for all the items in my sprites list, so where is my sprites list? It's in my any component, any image sprite, and this list. So go to control, I get for each item. So for each item in my image sprite list, I am going to make them invisible and make the speed 0. So if I go down, any image sprite, scroll down, I have this speed and get item, and speed is 0. And right click, duplicate, and now change this to visible, because I want them to be invisible now. So right click, duplicate. Now I'm going to write the score on the canvas. And how can I do that? Go to canvas, and I have this draw text, okay? And make sure that you do it outside the for loop. And here, what is the text? The text is a join of 3 things. So I click on the cog wheel and drag one more string, and I go to text again, and this says that you caught, and again space. And if I right click on this get item, I can get a get block, and I can change it to score. So this is a global score. You caught, right click, duplicate, Now again space, gift, bracket. Okay. And what is X and Y? X and Y are the middle of the canvas. So if I get canvas.width and from math, get the division block, plug this in, I can use this number block that was just stranded there. So yeah, so right, duplicate, and now this is height. Okay, so this will exactly draw the text in the middle of the canvas. And last but not the least, we have to stop the player from playing. Okay, so this is done. So have fun coding this game and playing this game with your friends, challenging them to catching the gifts and avoiding the calls. I hope you liked this tutorial. Please subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of the great projects that I've planned for you. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and goodbye.